Greetings, everyone. It's Ian from RTO. Welcome to another couple of... I'm not going to start again. It's just Richard. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, Ian. Good to be here.
Yeah, a week today, it's Coronation Day.
There we go.
So this is what this is all about. But it's not about the coronation itself. We're going to do our top 10 songs that mention royal titles. As usual, Richard goes first, I go second, and then we've got some bubbling unders. And I've cheated again, I'm sorry.
So have I. Don't worry about it.
So it's over to you, sir.
Okay. Well, the way I tried to do this was to get 8 different royal titles and start at the lowest ranking one and finish at the top. I could only get 8. I couldn't get 10. So my number 10 is a generalization. My number 1 is a specific, and 8 to 2 go up in ranks. And all of my bubbling unders are kings. Okay. So my number 10.
Sorry, mine's just, I tried to keep away from the same thing, but in the end it didn't. So, so yeah, it's a tough one, really.
Okay, my number 10 is a generalization, and it's by the Bee Gees from their first album, Bee Gees First, and it is Craze Fintan Kirk Royal Academy of Arts, and it's a quirky little number sung by Robin Gibb, slightly muffled voice in it, and it's absolutely brilliant. In fact, that first Bee Gees album, well, first international Bee Gees album, is an absolute classic album. And Craze Fintan Kirk Royal Academy of Arts is one of my favourite songs on it. It's only about a minute and a half long, but it's brilliant, and that gets my number 10.
Yeah, great song. You know, that album's always forgotten about, isn't it?
It's a fantastic album.
It is a good album.
Great. 60s Bee Gees, fantastic.
And there goes Mike Garfield on the floor. But I'm not picking him up. Good start to the show, isn't it? Okay, my number 10. This is a single from 1979. Got to number 6. It's a song by Darts, and it includes 2. It's a Duke of Earl.
Yeah, very good. I know.
Yes, originally done by Gene Chandler, of course, but I like the Darts version. But it doesn't feature Dan Hegarty because he left the band by then.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah, it's Kenny Andrews that does the do cover. But yes,
they're a band I never ever think of, and I do like some of their singles. I always love that "Come Back My Love." Now that did feature Dan Hegarty or whatever you. But no, a good choice. I knew you'd have that song somewhere.
Yeah, I love that song. I've got it on singles somewhere. It was on the Magnet label.
It was indeed, yes. Stardust as well.
Yes.
And Bad Manners were on Magnet.
Yeah.
My number 9 is the lowest ranking of the ones I could get, and it's a song by Johnny Cash, and it's called "The Baron," and it's from 1981, and it's a good song. Now, it does have that sort of Johnny Cash boom chicka boom feel to it, but the verses are like spoken narrative verses, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it's got a really good chorus, and it's got really good backing vocals. And it is a really decent song, and the fact that it's called "The Baron," that's the only reason it gets into my list. And so that's my lowest ranking of the royal titles at number 9.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of my very best of the Baron. But it is, it's got that typical of Johnny Cash. That's a great choice. I like that. That's quite a good one. Right, you'll like my number 9. Another single, a number 1 from 1981. I'm going to do an action because you'll get it.
I know.
Prince Charming, Adam and the Ants. We've spoke about this before, but I do love it. It's got Diana Dawes in, which is just fantastic. It's a great song. I love that acoustic guitar, that dun dun dun. Fine,
Oh, I love
fine
it.
song. Fine song.
From a very, very great album, underrated album, because it's sort of forgotten about that album compared to the Kings of the Wild Frontier. There's
Yeah.
another one you could have had. But yeah, brilliant. Well, my number eight, next up on the list is a prog classic, which I know you like, and I have a feeling you might actually have this. And it's by Genesis, and it's 11th Earl of Mar from Wind and Wuthering. Right in my favorite Genesis period with the 1960 or 76 to 78 period. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It opens the album. I think it's a Tony Banks song, isn't it?
Tony
Or is
Banks
it
song, yes.
absolutely brilliant? And Genesis could do no wrong for me on those three albums. Uh, Wind and Mothering, and then there were three, and A Trick of the Tail. For me, those were their final three albums. 11th Earl of Mar gets my number 8.
I missed out. It missed out. But it is a great song. I mean, it's got some great Tony Banks keyboards in that. And Phil Collins's drums is really good, especially that middle section where the tempo, it's at one tempo and then he takes it up another notch. And the way he does it is just flawless. Yeah, great choice. My number 8 is from one of my favourite bands. And it's off an album that's not particularly a favourite of mine. Album came out in 1983. The album Secret Messages, ELO. But the track is Rock and Roll is King, which is probably the best song on that.
I loved that single at the time. Absolutely loved it. I'm not as keen on it now. I think I've overplayed it, but at the time, I thought it was a brilliant rock and roll single.
And I like it that it's not actually the guitar solo is not a guitar solo, it's a violin solo from Mick Kaminsky, which is absolutely brilliant. Rock and roll on a fiddle. You can't beat it.
Yeah.
Great song.
Great choice. Okay, my number 7 then is from 1979, and it was a hit single for the Stranglers, and it is Duchess, which is from their album The Raven. It's the best track off The Raven, even though it's a very good album. And it is a top 5 Strangler single track for me. Absolutely brilliant. Got a hilarious video as well. Yeah, it gets on every Stranglers compilation. It's just an absolutely fantastic song. And I guess my number 7. There was another Duchess I was thinking of picking, but because I picked the previous one, I didn't want to repeat the same group.
Yeah, I had that same problem as well, but I went the other way. I love that track. It's probably one of my favourite Strangler songs. I love the quirky keyboard in that.
Yeah,
that's what that band was, quirky keyboards.
they really were like a punked version of the Doors. Yeah, but I prefer the vocals of the Stranglers to Jim Morrison's vocals, although I don't mind Jim Morrison, but yeah, big Stranglers fan.
Okay, my number 7, we go to 1979, and a great Welsh guitarist, singer. A song that was written by Hank DeVito a long time ago. It's from one of my favourite albums by this guy, Repeat When Necessary. So it's Dave Edmunds and the Queen of Hearts.
Yes, absolutely brilliant song. I never even thought of that one, actually.
Yeah, I think his version is far better than the original.
Yeah, did you hear, is it your girl, I can't remember, Juice Newton's version of it? Juice Newton had a hit with it in America after Dave Edmunds,
Yeah,
sorry.
Dave Edmunds.
He does a good version as well, but Dave Edmunds is, really it's Rock Pilots, Dave Edmunds, Nick Lowe, and the other two guys.
Yeah,
brilliant track. Brilliant track. Okay, my number 6. Now, I don't know what you're going to do with the wee picture here because I don't know what you're going to put up for it because it's a song. I don't know if it ever came off an album. I don't know if it was ever a single. I have a feeling it was one of these songs recorded by a 70s band for a 90s compilation of re-recorded greatest hits. for CD and being sold at 1.99 in Woolworths. I think it was maybe specifically written for that, but it's brilliant. And it's Mungo Jerry and Duke Street Stomp. And it has this sort of Mungo Jerry feel to it, but a slightly more modern, up-to-date 90s feel. But it still has all the characteristics of a Mungo Jerry song. It's got like a descending chorus. Oh, sorry, descending verse. And the chorus is pure stomp your feet and sing along. And I've always loved it. But I don't think it was ever released on an album or a single. I think it was specifically for one of
Well, if I
those.
can't find the thing, I'll put a picture of Mungo Jerry up. There you go. A little picture of Mungo Jerry.
Put something Mungo Jerry Greatest Hits Volume 1 by Pickwick, and yeah, that'll
Yeah.
probably be. So that's my number 6. Love it.
Yeah, I've heard that song. It's proper, get your cloggy boots on and have a bash. Yeah, great choice. Now this is where we might start diversing, and you probably have never heard of, well, you may have heard of some of these. This is from 1981. It's from one of my favorite heavy metal bands. The band is Saxon. It's a single. It reached the dizzy height of number 57, and it's Princes of the Night, which is off Denim and Leather, which is one of their big albums. It's a firm favourite of the fans. It's still played today in their set. It's just a great heavy metal track. It's got a picture of a train on the single cover.
I know nothing. Was it Saxon that did the song and the band played on?
Yes.
Well, that's the only thing I know about Saxon.
Yeah, same album. I think
Yes,
same album, yeah.
there you go. I didn't know that.
You know, so I mean, at least you've heard of Saxon.
I've heard of them, yeah. Well, my number 5 is also a Princess song, and it's a deep cut by the Kinks from 1969, and it's She Bought a Hat Like Princess Marina.
Yeah, well, what a track.
It's from the album Arthur, or The Decline of the British Empire, and it's, to use one of your words, it's very quirky. It starts off with a harpsichord, and then it almost goes into like a ragtime song. It's very, very English, but the Kinks were very English. And I just think it's brilliant, from an absolutely brilliant album. So She Bought a Hat Like Princess Marina. That's my number 5.
Yeah, I like the Kinks came up with these quintessential English songs. You know, Waterloo Sunset, Lola, very English. People say
Yes.
it's very English. Wonderful, wonderful song. Now, my number 5 is from one of my favourite bands again, Marillion, but it's not a Fish song. This is a song from the Steve Hogarth era. 1995. The album is called Afraid of Sunrise, and it's the last track on the album, King. Now, this song is about Elvis Presley, because at the beginning of the song, you've got the King of Rock and Roll. It's got other bits as well. Something about, I think it was the Guildford Four. It's one of them, but it's one of them songs. It starts gentle and it just builds and builds and builds. It's a brilliant song on the album. It's one of my favourite songs off the album. And I had to have a bit of Marillion in there somewhere.
I was surprised it's not the Fish era, because I know you're really big into the Fish era.
I'm big into Fish.
One Steve Hogarth album that you ranked very, very highly whenever you did that new format of ranking. I can't remember the name of it.
The new album.
No, you know the way you do a new format of ranking an album?
The tier ranking.
Tier ranking, yeah. I think there was a Hogarth album quite high up there.
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, I like Brave and the latest album, Now Before Dark. It's brilliant stuff.
So as we carry on up the tiers of royal titles, I've got to number 4 now, and it's the Prince one. So I was going to pick Prince Charming, but I changed it last night because I thought you might have it. So I have gone for The Rest of the Ants, and this is Bow Wow Wow, and it's Prince of Darkness. and it has all the characteristics of a Bow Wow Wow song with that twangy guitar, the heavy drums, and it was a single that got to number 58. That's a shame because it's absolutely brilliant. Now, in an instrumental form, it did feature on their See Jungle, Go Join Your Gang, Yes City All Over, Go Crazy.
Have you
Don't
been
ask me.
practicing that?
Probably said it in the video when I made an absolute botch of it, but I can do it off by heart now. But it wasn't called Prince of Darkness on the album. It was called Sinner, 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 but it's basically the same song in a more instrumental form. But Prince of Darkness, absolutely great with Annabella's vocals and calls and responses, and absolutely love it. So it gets my number 4. Bow Wow Wow, Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, she was Annabelle had got a unique voice.
Yeah. She was only a child as well. Like she was only, whenever that was released, I think she was only about 15, possibly 16 years old.
I wonder what happened she's doing now.
Oh, she's still touring as Bow Wow Wow.
That's fantastic, isn't it? She's
Oh,
still going. Okay, my number 4 is a song off an album called Draw the Line from Aerosmith in 1977. Didn't chart over here, but it got to the charts, got to number 70, and it's called Kings and Queens.
all right. Another double whammy.
Double whammy again. Yeah, I've sort of cheated a bit here. But yeah, it's a great song. If you know Draw the Line, the album cover's the one with the well, you'll see it later. So the one where someone's drawn them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great album. It's one of the classic albums. I mean, my Aerosmith, the newer stuff, it's okay, but I'm more the 70s Aerosmith. It's one of my favourite songs by Aerosmith.
So you're not into the I don't want to miss a thing, that sort of stuff?
Oh, no, I'm not. That's just.
I quite like it, actually.
I'm more your Dream On and all that sort of stuff. That's my era of Aerosmith. Even though I wasn't into them at the time, but that's rather fair.
Okay, so next up on the tier for me, number 3 is David Bowie and it's Queen Bitch from Hunky Dory, which is an absolute blinding track. It's a track that actually paves the way to the next album, Ziggy Stardust, because it actually fits better on Ziggy than it does on David Bowie. It's very heavily influenced by the Velvet Underground. It's got a weird chorus with I can't even remember the words of it now. She's so happy, whatever. But it's a brilliant song, great guitar riffing by Mick Ronson, and that gets by number 3, and it is one of the highlights of Hunky Dory. And he did a really good version of that with Lou Reed on his 50th birthday in 1997.
Yes, I've seen the video of that. It was great. It fitted, didn't it? Lou Reed fitted into that song.
Because that's where he got the influence, was from Lou Reed's Velvet Underground. So yeah, brilliant. So I guess my number 3.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about Hunky Dory because I'll be talking about it on Wednesday. Anyway, my number 3, this is where I've really cheated. 1980, an album by Genesis. And the album's called Duke.
Mm-hmm.
But you couldn't do Duke's Travels without Duke's End, because to me
that's not cheating. I would give you that.
Yeah, because you can't have. It's like having fish without chips, isn't it? It's the whole thing. It's one of the last great prog tracks that Genesis did. To me, it's just wonderful, and I like how they on that final tour. They played it.
Yeah.
That's how much that song must mean to them. They still played it, and it's brilliant. That's some of Phil's finest drumming. And his son Nick carried it off brilliantly on that, of what I've seen of it. It's just my favourite bit of the whole album.
Oh, it's an excellent album. I love Behind the Lines. I really do love that song. I think it's fantastic. Going into Duchess. But yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah, that's another one that nearly went in, Duchess. But when I thought about it, no, it's got to be Duke's Travels because it's just fabulous.
Okay, my number two, and we've hit the top. So what can my number one be if we've hit the top at number two?
I know.
My number two is The King, and it is King Lear by Morrissey from his 1991 album Kill Uncle, which everybody seems to not like, but it's one of my top three Morrissey albums. It's a very short album, and I just think it's great. It's sort of co-written. All of it is actually co-written by your guy out of Fairground Attraction, Mark Nevin. And it's less guitar-y, and this one here is a very shuffly little song, extremely catchy, with a beautiful little piano tinkle going through it, and Morrissey's vocals are great on it. And yeah, I've always loved the song King Lear, so that gets my number two by Morrissey.
It's quite funny you've mentioned that album because I listened to it just before we started.
Is that right?
I'm listening to some Morrissey at the moment, so you know what's coming at some stage. And I think, I mean, it's the first time I've really listened to it all the way through. And
Different.
It's very different from what I've listened to up to yet. And I think, yeah, it works. I like it.
I love it.
Well, if you like it, I must be going in the right direction. I like that. Okay, my number two. Now, this was a real hard decision. I knew this band was going to get featured. Again, it's called Queen, so it's another double whammy here. There are so many good tracks with a royalty thing. My Fairy King. But I've gone from Queen to White Queen as it begin.
Okay.
I love that track because it's as far near as prog that Queen ever got. Freddie's vocals on that are outstanding. Now, Queen 2 is an album that people sort of forget about.
No, I rate it very highly. So
yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, you play that to a person that's into the works, and they go, "Oh, this is not very good," and you go, "Hold on a minute." But yeah, it's. I mean, that album, the whole album is brilliant. But the White Queen is the outstanding track on that album for me.
I thought you would have picked March of the Black Queen from that album.
That as well, but for some reason, I think that's quite rocky, and there's lots of rockies. But this is the one that really is more prog than rock. It's a progressive rock song without a doubt in my books.
No, it's a great song. Both sides, like side one of that album is all Brian May, apart from the one Roger Taylor song, and then side two, it's all Freddie Mercury. I like both sides. I veer towards side two though. But
I play that album quite a lot.
Okay, well, my number one. Oh, I've done King, and I'm not repeating. So what have I got? I am going to go with a song that is simply called Charles, and it's by the Skids. And it was from their 1978 EP called Skids, or sometimes known as the Charles EP. It also featured on their debut album in '79, Scared to Dance. And it is a really great little sort of mid-tempo number with the catchiest hook ever you would get. And as soon as we decided to do this, I knew that was going to be my number one. It's simply called Charles.
That's absolutely clever.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, left field, out the box sort of stuff. But it's royal. It's relevant. That is a great choice. It's a great song. I know that song. I had a copy of it many years ago, and it's one of the singles that EP is one that I'm on the hunt for.
The two versions are different now. The EP version and the album version are slightly different, and I love both of them.
Yeah,
because you get the EP version as an extra track on the CD of the reissue, so that's where I heard it.
Okay, my number one. I've gone for a prog band. Again, double whammy. Ian's getting his double whammies in today. The band is King Crimson.
Okay.
It's the from their debut album, and it's the title track, "In the Court of the Crimson King." To me, this is one of the very first big prog songs ever. There's arguments about this, but I always consider this album the first proper progressive rock album. It is a fantastic album. Got Robert Fripp, Greg Lake, and Ian McDonald on there, who after that, after Ian and Greg left, obviously they went on to big things as well. Robert Fripp's still doing that stuff, and he's out there touring with Toyah at the moment. So it's a song that everyone likes. Even Saxon have done a version of this song. It's not as good as this, but I love this song. It's just something about it.
I'm going to surprise you. I have that album and I like it. So I do. However, there's one track I cannot stand. I can't remember, is it Moonchild or something? It goes diddly 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 for about 12 minutes solid. It gets on the nerves, but the rest of the tracks are really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna, because I know Rob Walker's getting into prog at the moment. I'm going to ask him on Thursday about that album, because if he hasn't listened to that, he's got to listen to it, because it'll blow his mind with tracks like that.
Is it 20th Century Schizoid Man?
Yeah.
Which is really good. And there's a couple of tracks I think sound a little bit like the Moody Blues as well.
They're all about that sort of time. They all sort of knew each other. So yeah. So that's my number one.
Well, I have three bubbling unders, and I've decided because it's Charles's day, they're all going to be King. So from 1980, a number 4 hit for UB40, and it's simply called King. It was a double A side with Food for Thought, and it also featured on their album Signing Off, and it's a brilliant reggae number with fantastic saxophone on it. It's a really good song. The other one is, I have to get this band in, always do, and it's ABBA, and it is The King Has Lost His Crown, and it's a track from the Voulez-Vous album, last song, side 1, Frida lead vocal. Maybe not the catchiest of songs off that album, but it's one of those songs that once you get to like it, it gets better and better and better and better.
I thought you'd have gone for Dancing Queen myself.
I had Dancing Queen and I stroked it out. And lastly, I'm going to go for your favorite band of all time, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Not T-Rex, Tyrannosaurus Rex, and King of the Rumbling Spires, which was a single in 1969, and it was really their first recorded electric track, and it is actually quite heavy for Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it got to number 42 or something like that there. So those are my three bubbling unders, and we have 10 minutes left.
See, we're getting good at this, aren't we? Indeed. I think that song is what. Oh, I'm not the greatest fan of Tyrannosaurus Rex, but that song I really like.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, it is a great song. My bubbling unders, you've got a bit of a mixture. 2 about King and 1 about princes.
Okay.
My first one is from 1970 on the In Rock album from Deep Purple, and it's the opening track, Speed King. I love that. And I like it how we mentioned it's all the rock and roll stars. I love that track. It's next to Child in Time. That's probably my favourite track on the album. Just great stuff, and I love John Lord's little keyboard intro on that. I wanted to get some Beatles in here.
Okay.
And I went through all their songs, and I went to Abbey Road in the end, and the Sun King. Part of that, just before the Abbey Road medley. I mean, I think this is sort of part of that medley. I love this. I love the harmonies. You've got George, Ringo. They're all giving it, having a sing. It's
beautiful, but it's a complete rip-off of Albatross by Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, okay, it is a complete rip-off, but I think it's nice.
I love it as well. I really do.
And my last one, I think, is quite apt. It's a single from 1993, got to number 7. It's off an album called Pocket Full of Kryptonite, and it's Spin Doctors and 2 Princes, which I think
Right, okay, very good.
Two princes.
Harry and William.
Harry and William.
If
Yeah.
I if there was a song called Kate Middleton, it would be my number one.
Yeah, I looked for a song with Kate in it, but couldn't find one. And I couldn't find one with Meg. I've got a track with the mentions Megan, but we don't mention her. Anyway, that was interesting because there was no repeats.
None whatsoever.
So there we go. That's been a really good one. I haven't finished today yet because for my sins, I'm stepping into Rachel's ghost hosting today. So that's going to be at 3 p.m. I got some stick yesterday because why aren't you starting at 2? I said because I'm watching the rugby. And someone put rugby before vinyl. I nearly put I've got a life, outside of records.
Yeah.
Anyway, as ever, Richard, it's always great to do these. I think I've come up with another one for our next thing. I'll email it later in the week. Are you about on Thursday or are you back at work?
I will be about on Thursday, yes, and then I go back to work the next week. Now, I'm going to be on day shift for a few days now. Whether it's the whole week, I don't know. If I'm on day shift, I'll be about that Thursday as well, but then after that, I can always come in for 20 minutes before I go to work.
Yeah, because Richard's part of the VC UK, which is starting to grow. The
Yeah,
views
well,
we're getting on it.
it is indeed.
Anyway, I'm going to have a rest now before I start again. So once again, thank you very much, Richard. And I'll see you all if you want to come in and when I'm on Rachel's, come in. But I'll be back on Monday with Elbow and James Brown, please, 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 as my classic album. So it's goodbye from me.
That's goodbye from him.
Bye bye, folks. Bye bye.